Well, welcome back, dear petrolheads, to the soggy spectacle that was League Zero Formula Round 7 at the Hockenheimring. A race that promised high-octane thrills, but delivered what can only be described as a masterclass in automotive aqua aerobics. The skies opened, and the track transformed into something resembling the English Channel, except with more twists and turns and fewer ferries. Drive in the rain, they said. It'll be fun, they said, mused Arturo Mayorga before the race. Oh, Arturo, how those words would come back to haunt you. From the moment the lights went out, chaos reigned supreme. Xavier Sainave and Antonio Bianchi decided to treat us to a spirited game of bumper cars for P2, swapping places with the frequency of a traffic light on the fritz. Antonio seemed determined to make Xavier's rear wing a permanent fixture on his nose cone. Perhaps he fancied a closer look at that sleek design. Meanwhile, Jaden Calloway was carving his way through the field with the finesse of a surgeon and the urgency of a man late for his own wedding. By lap 2, he muscled past Antonio for P2, probably thinking, if you two are quite done squabbling, there's a race to win. But racing in the wet is a fickle mistress. On lap 4, Jaden found himself exploring the scenic routes of Sector 1. One can only assume he momentarily forgot he wasn't auditioning for a remake of Swan Lake. Back in the pack, Gale Rolls, who had earlier predicted that slippery conditions mixed with wild incompetence, this race can only go well, was making moves of his own. By lap 1, he overtook Delmas Leo 2 for P8 and then continued his ascent up the leaderboard. Gale's premonition about wild incompetence seemed less a forecast and more a personal mission statement. Sector 1 became the Bermuda Triangle for several drivers. Robert Nobles ran into trouble there on lap 1, perhaps mistaking his accelerator for a brake pedal. Xavier Sainave decided to join the party on lap 3, proving that misery loves company. The pit lane saw its fair share of drama too. Eric Giori appeared to have taken up semi-permanent residence there, popping in so frequently you'd think they were serving free coffee. As for Gale, his pit stop was the stuff of legend. No, I overshot my box and had to slam it into reverse, he admitted sheepishly. Well, who among us hasn't missed a parking spot at the supermarket? Arturo, not to be outdone in the comedy of errors, confessed post-race, still better than what I did. I somehow missed the pit window and ran out of gas. Running out of gas in a race is like a chef running out of salt, fundamental and mildly embarrassing. Perhaps he was too focused on avoiding those puddles he was so wary about. Amidst the mayhem, Shaji Zuha quietly went about his business, seizing the lead on lap 5 when Antonio took an impromptu detour to the pits. Shaji must have felt the breath of Jaden on his neck, though, as by lap 6, the relentless Calloway had reclaimed P2 and set his sights on the top spot. By lap 9, order, or what passed for it in this drenched debacle, was restored as Jaden surged into P1, where he would remain, no doubt with a steely determination and perhaps a slightly damp racing suit. I told you, dog, he quipped confidently mid-race, exuding the kind of cool you'd expect from a man cruising through a downpour without windshield wipers. As the race wore on, the track continued to test the driver's patience and grip, or lack thereof. Delmas Leo 2 had another moment in Sector 1 on lap 5, possibly attempting to set a record for the most spins in a single race. Robert Nobles found further trouble on lap 7 in Sector 3, suggesting that perhaps the corners were moving when no one was looking. When the checkered flag finally waved, possibly out of sheer relief, Jaden crossed the line in P1, having turned a slippery nightmare into a victorious dream. Shaji held on to secure P2, likely contemplating how a bit of rain turned his cockpit into a mobile sauna. Gale, mastering both the track and his parking technique, claimed P3. The parking place was vital, he joked. Arguably the most important thing in the entire race. What's the point of racing if the parking spot isn't perfect? A fair point. We all know the perils of a hasty parking job. Arturo, despite his earlier fuel faux pas, managed to finish in P4. Perhaps he found a way to convert his sheer willpower into propulsion. Eric Guillory took P5, and one can only hope his pit crew was earning overtime pay for all the action they saw. In the end, the race was less about speed and more about survival. an aquatic obstacle course that tested the mettle of even the bravest drivers. As the teams pack up their soggy gear and the drivers wring out their socks, one thing is certain: they'll be checking the weather forecast a bit more diligently next time. So until the next round, when hopefully we'll have less water and more rubber on the track, remember, racing in the rain isn't just about who has the fastest car, it's about who brought the biggest umbrella.